Book talk and its consequences have been a disaster for the human race. Recently, I saw a TikTok of two women talking about the romance novels that they read, and I've realized over time this is becoming an issue. Women are reading romance novels that are called romance novels, but in reality, it's just the most depraved, disgusting, sick, mentally ill shit you've ever seen in your life. And this is just sold on shelves at Barnes & Noble. I can't believe that this is something you can buy without an ID, actually. So let's take a look at that TikTok and hear some of their examples.
Here we go, guys. Here we go.
I heard she fucks the priest on the altar in this one. That's sick. Oh my god, I need this one. She fucks her uncle and both of his kids.
Didn't you read that on Kindle Unlimited already?
Yeah, but I need a physical copy. There's nodding in this one, like with dogs.
That's disgusting.
I know. Who would read that?
Okay, that was kind of funny.
In this one, he's giving her back shots while drowning her in shark-infested waters.
Why do you look so excited about that?
I'm not. This author started out writing Kylo Ren fanfic.
Who's that?
You just don't get it. Maria,
I
you
mean, we read the Kylo Ren.
Disavow all
Yeah.
of this.
Yes.
have to read this.
Isn't that like 21 books of alien smut?
Yeah, so? Think we should get into manga?
I don't know. Pick one and see what it's about. Dig Fight Island?
Okay.
So, why is it that... What are they doing now? They're just like checking out smut books in Barnes & Noble?
Yeah.
I mean, that looked like a troll.
Yeah, well,
to me.
they were, joking about it, but essentially
Yeah.
the punchline is, we say that we're into reading, but really we just read porn. That's the joke.
Look at them. Look at those women.
Yeah.
That's the punchline.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is serious dating advice to men out there. Just if a woman says that she's into reading, like that's one of her hobbies, just make extra sure that she is not a porn addict, because that seems to be the trend now. Women will say that they're
Yeah.
into reading, that they're a bookworm, and really that just means they're gooners.
Like, visual porn is not the only kind of porn.
Yeah.
Men are visual, women are literary in this sense.
But guess what? The feminists found this tweet and they found a way to blame the patriarchy for it. The reason why women are interested in things like this is not because they're porn addicts, it's because of men.
But women
Actually.
have always loved books like this. This is nothing new. Maybe
I
this,
wouldn't say always.
I think
Definitely
they
wouldn't say always.
I bet you if you look back, it's pretty common to love this type. Maybe not.
There
to the
would be
extent.
books at Barnes and Noble about having sex with dogs.
Well, when do you think it
I don't
started?
think so.
When do you think it
I
started?
don't think so. I'm not saying that erotica novels are some kind of new invention from the 2020s. Obviously not. But women in the 2000s were reading like Twilight. Like that is obviously much different.
50 Shades of Grey was considered pretty risque for its time.
50 Shades of Grey, yeah, it was considered risque for its time, and now look at where we are.
It's also the most famous or the most popular like woman's novel ever, right? Wasn't it like the
Is it?
It was like
It
huge.
actually, 50 Shades of Grey, some people don't know this, but 50 Shades of Grey was written originally as Twilight fan fiction. And yeah, and they adapted it with different character names, and that's how it ended up being so popular.
I just always
So really, this is
Women
just
want to get dommed.
this is just smut that's being sold as literature. So here were some of the takes that I saw, because a lot of women saw this and found it very disheartening. One said, the rise in romance novels that are casually about the brutalization of women is actually terrifying. Sorry. Don't say sorry. You're right. Another one said, the majority of women's romance books is just gooning material of the most perverted stuff ever. And this is basically the female gooning epidemic that no one is talking about, because it's obviously disturbing.
I'm picturing one of the women finishing this book, closes the lid, then goes, the cover goes on Twitter and goes, men only want one thing, and it's disgusting.
Yeah, one person said back in the day, smut novels at least had a shirtless dude on the cover,
Yep.
and they were forced to read them in private.
Yep.
But now you can read the most depraved R-word and bestiality smut in public, and it's sold at Barnes and Noble.
I
Like,
remember-
that's crazy.
I remember there was. Well, I think they were always sold at Barnes and Noble, but it's just they're saying the content has gotten worse. I remember there was like a scene in the show Rizzoli and Isles where there's like they have like a. They have like a nun who's working at the precinct to help victims of violent crimes, and she's stodgy and she's rude and only wants to talk about the rules. And there's a scene where they go in and she's like supposed to be reading like the Bible. It's like the cover of the Bible, and it
Oh,
falls
but
off and it says
yeah.
"On the Wings of Desire," and it's just basically this. It's just erotica.
Right, but now that we live in a culture with no sense of shame, you don't have to hide it anymore. You should be proud of it.
Well, that's it's time to normalize.
I really,
Yeah.
really think that shame. We need to bring shame back. Shame is actually something that is a very useful tool.
Yes.
Is this just because nobody goes to Barnes and Noble anymore or to bookstores anymore? I mean,
So
actually,
they
that's
have to
that's not
change
true,
their
yeah.
business model to cater to these people.
Barnes and Noble is actually like every time I go to a Barnes and Noble, like that we go to a Barnes and Noble, it's pretty busy. Like there's people in there. I don't know how much stuff is actually getting bought, but there's actually people there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but if you're a smaller bookstore, you definitely got to sell the smut. Otherwise, no, like the women are like just gonna buy it on eBay or on
Here we go.
Amazon.
Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Intermission.
Eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, eat the cat, eat the cat. They're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats, eat the cat.
We have
20
a 20 from VWit. My ex had a huge crush on Snape. It started with J.K. Rowling. It isn't the start of this, but smut for women is different than it is for men. Men are visual. Wait, what?
There we go.
Oh.
Sorry.
Men are visual. Women have many fantasies of, quote, the 1% of men taking control. We have another 20 from Jose Quintana. Well, there were the Harlequin novels in the 70s/80s. Phil, I'm a pure native New Yorker who understands your view of my hometown. Can it be a cesspool? Yes, but it's my cesspool. No offense taken, my friend.
Good. None was intended. No offense is meant to be cast at any New Yorker or anything like that. That's not. I'm not saying that anyone else should hate New York or whatever. Just for me personally, I've been to New York plenty of times, and unless I have to go, I'm not really looking to go to the city. It's hard to get in, it's hard to get out. I don't want to take the subway. Driving there is a nightmare,
Mm-hmm. Well, we now have the 4B movement.
LOL.
Yeah, so women have decided they're going to be boycotting men. Yeah.
Well, they don't need men. They've got these books.
They're going
now.
to be, they're at least going to be boycotting hooking up with men and having relationships with men and having children with men in favor of reading smut from Barnes and Noble. So they're kept warm at night by all of their books.
I actually find the funniest part to be that they go to Barnes and Noble to buy it. That they don't buy it online. That they
It's just it's funny. Like, I saw someone post, I'm autistic and I got my job at a sex shop so that people wouldn't make small talk with me. The reason I said that is because people at a sex shop feel a little bit ashamed of what they're buying and why they're there.
So I feel like part of the reason why women go to Barnes and Noble is
What?
there's a phenomenon that I have found. There's a lot of women that are kind of have a little bit of exhibitionist inclination. They like to have sex in public places where they could get caught. And I think that they like to buy the books at Barnes and Noble. I think that ties into it. Like,
They like
maybe
reading
I'll
it.
get busted buying the smut.
Ugh, they're trying to involve all of these poor employees.
John from their local church is going to be in the Barnes and Noble too, and be like, "Oh, Helen, what are you reading? Oh my goodness,
I didn't
bestiality,
know you were,
Helen! I didn't know. I wasn't aware of
I
your
didn't
game."
know you were such a bookworm. Ugh, and these poor women, they look like they're not getting much attention from men anyway. So I guess this is they have to fantasize about it.
I just it doesn't shock me. The only thing that upsets me is that they shamed the men for watching the porn, but then they don't shame themselves. If they shamed themselves too, I'd be fine with it.
Well, the women in question, I think the feminist consensus is still sex positive.
Okay.
So I don't think they shame men for watching porn. They I think what's ironic about it is that these women they're so precious about their independence and, you know, I'm a strong woman and I don't need no man and I don't want any man to act like he's in charge of me. Meanwhile, they're pouring all of those suppressed feelings into pornography that depicts scenarios far to the extreme opposite end. And it's like stuff about them literally like getting murdered. Like that turns them on because they've eroticized their own self-hatred. Honestly, it's like that's kind of the dark side to this, even though they seem to think it's really funny.
Do you think that they see this as superior to what men like? I'm guessing these women don't, right? They if it's sex positive, they don't see it as any different than what men are.
Yeah, they're like, oh, why are you grossed out by all of my
Actually,
smut books?
they probably would see it as superior because they would think of the porn industry for its exploitation of actual women, whereas theoretically in the book world is nobody getting exploited.
Yeah, which is, you know, not a bad point, I guess. I'm against all of it personally, but it's because a lot of these people are using pornography in whatever form it is, whether it's a book or a video, to avoid actual intimacy, and it's a retreat away from that. Or really it's a cope for the fact that you've already lost interest in it.
Yeah.
And it's just sad that like men and women are at such odds, but then like women are
a true love story where she's reaching for the smut book, he's reaching for the manga, and their hands touch briefly. It's a moment in time, and they fall in love at Barnes and Noble.
What's really sad about it, not to get like too deep, I'll stop myself in a second, is that the entire project of feminism has been to put women at war with their own innate vulnerability. And even if we can't overcome our vulnerability just through our mindset change, we're gonna have to come up with like some kind of biotech to remove vulnerability from female nature. So that would be birth control, artificial wombs, whatever it may be. And as women are in this state of enmity with their own natures, they're pouring all of those suppressed feelings into depraved fantasies like this, and they're seeking it out because it's the only outlet they have.
Yeah.
And I do think they should be ashamed of what they're doing and not joking about it on TikTok, but it actually makes sense to me in a weird way that this is happening. It makes sense to me that this trend is happening because it's so stigmatized for them to believe that like they want a man who is a leader or who is dominant or who is just masculine in general. So if that's stigmatized beyond all comprehension, this is, I guess, the outlet to find some sort of fantasy version of that.
Yeah.
Would you agree? Or is that too far-fetched?
No,
like, am I reading into it too much?
It logically follows to me. I think there's a lot of steps down the line that get you to that, right? They would have said that back in when the 50 Shades of Grey movies came out that this was already going that way, right? Because we were already into the destruction of what masculine men looked like in popular culture by that time, and you are now only allowed to fantasize about something like that if it's through something that's self-destructive rather than something that's inherently positive, like a relationship where the male takes the lead, he works, you stay at home with the kids, he provides and you provide, for the kids and stuff like that. I don't know if I buy that it's that simple, but it certainly follows logically.
Well, this isn't even to mention the problem with this. It's basically making people uncultured and functionally illiterate.
How so?
You could spend your time so much better reading an actual book. And I just saw this other TikTok. This girl said in her caption, Can someone write a story about a black woman and a white woman that fall in love in the 1930s or 40s in secret until someone finds out, and the white woman is Jewish and gets sent to a concentration camp, and the black woman gets sent to a conversion camp and experiences racism? Then in the end, they survive and find each other again, and the whole story is written in first person, but as if they're writing a letter to each other, but they never get sent.
That is the most like fully thought out bit of modern day muck I've ever heard.
Like, just read Jane Austen.
That's identity politics as liberal porn.
It's so sad. Like, literally just read Jane Austen novels. You'd be so much better off. And they're even trying to ruin that now.
Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.